Get connected, Fitchburg. Sign up for Fitchburg Connect, the city's monthly e-newsletter that keeps you informed about all the events, services, and updates that matter to you. Get it in your inbox once a month. Sign up today to get Fitchburg Connect.
Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're your hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every weekday, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can find all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues affecting you and your neighbors.
(6:01) on May 7th. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from April?
Motion to approve.
And a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion on the minutes? All right.
Reminder roll call.
That is right. We need to do roll call votes now. So we will do a roll call vote, and I will just go right down the list as we're posted on the website, because that's easy for me to make sure I don't forget anybody. So it starts with me. I vote yay. Aaron?
Here. Oh, yes. Here.
All right. Christopher Peguero?
Here.
Heidi Reynolds?
Here.
Sue Easterday?
Here.
Todd Brunner?
Here.
Joe Maldonado?
Here.
All right, now that we know we're all here, sorry I got ahead of myself a little bit. Now we can approve the minutes. So there was a motion and a second. I'm sorry, who was the second?
I was. Or maybe someone in the room, I don't know.
As long as Eric got two of three people, I think we're good. Okay. All right. So, was there any discussion on the minutes? Any comments? All right. Hearing none, we'll take a vote to approve. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Motion carries. On to public appearances, and I do not see any, but we do have an introduction to make. Couple new commission members. Todd, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Todd Brunner. My family moved to Fitchburg on Merlin Street in 2006, so this is our 20th year here. That same time we moved to Fitchburg, I began my job as a principal in the Verona Area School District. Great place to be. This is my 32nd year, and I'm actually retiring in a month, so I've absolutely loved what I'm doing. Our school has long been the largest elementary in Dane County, a very diverse school, many staff who are international, bring an international lens to the community in our school. So just a great place to be, and I'm just honored to be a part of this commission. I was telling people last week when I was here that there's not a day that goes by that I don't go to, through, or by the Fitchburg Park. I go out 7 days a week at 4:30 walking around or riding around, and I'm continually impressed by just the facilities this community has, and I'm excited to be a part of trying to keep this great thing going. So thank you, everybody.
Right.
Welcome.
Welcome. And Alder Maldonado, you joining us now. Welcome as well.
Yeah, thank you, commissioners, for having me. Joe Maldonado, live in the Belmar neighborhood, about 2 blocks away from Belmar Park. I've got a 20-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. Have definitely played a lot with them in Fitchburg parks, including our bigger community parks as well. So excited to be here on the commission. And Todd, my son went to Sugar Creek for kindergarten, so Todd was his principal for a year. and glad to have you on the commission as well.
Wonderful. All right.
Welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. So then we can review and approve the agenda. Does anybody have any adjustments to the agenda they'd like to suggest or make a motion to approve it as written?
Motion to
Motion
approve.
to approve as written.
Second.
All right. We'll give Heidi the motion and Christopher the second. All those in favor of approving the agenda as written, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, agenda is approved. On to item 5A, we do have a citizen registered to speak, Patrick Cheney, wishing to just speak to the issue, to the agenda item with some questions, but neither in support or opposition. Come on up, Patrick.
You don't have the map up of Southdale that's in the packet, but my question is,
There you go.
well, I don't have it. My question is, are all of the improvements, there it is, are all of the improvements that are intended to be within the dashed green line that circles an area towards the front? And specifically, does this not do anything to change or replace or remove the existing shelter there? Is what I'm wondering about. That shelter does need some lighting work, but otherwise, I think this is to add a second shelter and keep the first one. That's my question.
Okay. Thank you. And then, let's see, Eric, do we plan to get a presentation on it first, or would you like to take a motion first on the approval and then we move into?
I would say we probably start with a introduction of the concept drawings. Ideally, what we can do tonight is we can mix and match between these concepts with the features that are listed, but we have a concept A and a concept B. We also have Rob Stein of EOR, who's online as well, who can answer any questions. If you recall, in 2025, the playground was replaced at Southdale. There were concept drawings for further park developments for basically a comprehensive park development plan in 2024 that were drafted. This is the next stage or the next phase of those developments after the playground was installed. There was, within those initial concepts, a priority for a water feature or a splash pad of sorts, additional shelter near the roadway, as well as full-service restrooms. Those are the three features that are proposed here. To answer Patrick's question, yes, all of those three features are within the dashed green line. And we have a couple different variations on those designs here, mostly being not too much layout changes, but overall size changes, and that will reflect the overall cost for the project. So I believe these two examples meet our needs, or at least meet what was first addressed within the initial concept designs. The shelters, again, are two different varying sizes. The splash pad is a flow-through feature. What a flow-through feature is that it's not retained like the one at McKee. So there is dechlorinating in here, and that is discharged into our stormwater or wastewater, rather than actually having the pool facilities and treatment of chemicals like we do at McKee. And the full-service restroom is also attached as well. The differences in the two restroom designs is one is a dual stall, one is a single stall, but they are still full-service flush restrooms. If there are any specific questions or discussions, I'll probably turn it over to Rob to provide a little bit more feedback or input on it. Rob, if you'd like to discuss a little bit more on it.
Sure. You did a pretty good rundown, giving a little more history as we looked at the whole site and then kind of narrowed in these priority areas. And as you said, the way the concepts develop, there isn't drastic differences between the two concepts. The major difference is the size and styling. One thing I would care to point out is that some of the imagery, for instance, the Huff Cut restroom buildings, that's an actual restroom building. The actual fit and finishes of that can be customized, so you're not necessarily going to have a orangish maroon with a stone base on that. So that can be customized. Fully plumbed, so we'd connect into a storm or a sanitary sewer that goes through the site or just off the site through an easement. shelter up close to the road. I've been on that site a number of times and have been there when kids are aggregating there for a bus pickup in that location or near that location anyways. Lots of kids hanging out. So having a dedicated spot for them will be a great improvement.
One thing I will add.
Yeah, yeah, please.
One thing I was going to add is the restroom location in some of those initial concepts in 2024 was closer to the playground. We did assess that and we weren't able to accommodate that due to the existing sanitary and water easements on the property to the west. So we are locked in with having that restroom nearer to the south end of this park rather than closer to the playground. So that easement for those existing utilities kind of dictated its location on these concepts.
A couple questions. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Joe.
This looks really good. Maybe my question might not be able to be answered right here, but I'm asking a new guy question. So I live right across from the border of the city of Madison, and there's a park called Allied Park, and they, I think, are the first park in the city of Madison that has Wi-Fi in the shelter. So if like it's a neighborhood where there's a lot of folks that may not have access to internet, I have no idea what that costs or what is involved in all that, but I'm wondering if that has ever been a consideration, just kind of given the neighborhood that we're in and that there may be folks that like need internet access.
It's not within this concept and we haven't discussed that yet. I don't know what the cost implications would be for something like that. I don't know, Rob, do you have any experience with something like that?
I couldn't speak to the costs of that.
Is that something that could be installed? Is that something that could be installed post installation, or would we have to factor that into initial design?
Well, just like these shelters are customizable for electrical outlets and lighting, of course. And I wouldn't be surprised if we can kind of pre-plan for that, whether it ever gets implemented or not. It's probably not going to be a cost prohibitive add-on, but I certainly can look into that, and I think it's a good suggestion just to find out for future projects and potentially this one.
What I think we would do at that point is if we do have authorization to move forward with these concepts tonight, we could potentially include that as a bid alternate when we do take this to bid. Would that be a good way to approach it, Rob?
Well, yes, I would say we can do that. The getting internet to the site, I'm guessing probably isn't a big deal just because they bring internet to every home. But I'd want to do a little digging on that. It probably won't take much digging, but I think your idea of an ad alternate is a good way of doing it.
So this project will come back to Parks Commission once we have bids together. So it'll come again for bid approval. At that point, we can kind of assess what the price would be if we want to include it within the bid acceptance or not.
Thank you.
Yeah, we should have a ballpark estimate on that going into bidding.
So a couple questions, Chris Pagaro. So questions about water use and the water, I think between the two splash pads, they're completely different size. So second one is almost twice the size. So what's the difference in water consumption and waste if it's going into the stormwater? And then another thing just to notice, if you have keen eyes, is this the second design of the shelter has a permanent seated picnic benches. Is that the design, or that's again a customizable thing?
That's a customizable thing.
Okay.
That's just an example photo.
Okay, great.
Rob, would you be able to speak to, I assume that the larger one would have more spray features on it. I mean, that would be my assumption as well. A larger splash pad is going to have more spray features on it. So that would be the nozzles that come up and spray water. Regarding water consumption, I'm not quite sure. I wouldn't really be able to speak too much on it as far as how much water they consume. Do you have any input on that, Rob?
Yeah, I'm looking for the exact numbers, but they're very low. I think they're like under 70 gallons per minute. I think they're around a magnitude of like 50. So they're very low flow systems. But I will try to find those exact numbers for you.
And then while you're looking, I see that Sue has her hand up as well. Sue?
You want me to ask now while he's looking?
If he's got some digging to do, if he has the answer ready at hand,
Yeah,
I don't
go
mean to
for it.
interrupt him.
Okay.
No, happy to.
Yeah, anytime you want me to stop, just say so. A question about it. I know it has to be close to the road there. Is there, and I couldn't see by the rendering, is there going to be any kind of just a linear fence there as a slowdown for a runaway kid that might be there?
There's no plans for any fences. There's a good distance between the splash pad and the actual curb line. And there's actually topography on that site. If you've been on the site, there's actually a little hill that kind of snakes.
Oh, okay. It must be set further back than I imagined because I've been there. The hill to me seems to be very close to the tree that's shown in the rendering. I didn't realize that it comes across, and then so it's going to be the splash pad area is just a hair north then of that information kiosk that's there.
Correct. Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
that's correct.
And then the other question about the tree, I know it's older, and a question I had is, I mean, and I don't know how old, but if it's nearing its natural lifespan, is there an advantage to taking the tree down and having more room to do any of what you're doing up front there?
So the tree in question that you're referring to, I did talk to Anna about this, is this one here that I'm circling with my cursor in the design. We wouldn't have plans to preliminarily or remove this prior to construction start. I would plan to retain it as much as possible. In the event that there's root disturbance or something like that, we would still have a tree protection zone around it, being fencing, hopefully minimizing root compaction around it. But we wouldn't plan for removal at this point, and I don't think that it would justify or basically change the concept that we have here. So the concepts weren't designed around that tree specifically. So even if we were to remove the tree, there wouldn't be many changes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
This is going to seem like a newbie question, but
It's okay.
both of them are around $300,000. How big is your capital budget? Is this something where, like every meeting, we're building shelter houses, or is this like once a year and I happen to land here?
No, so these are approved within a capital budget.
Okay.
This site is specific or a little bit unique because we do have funds that we received from the town of Madison. This property has not always been a city of Fitchburg park. It has recently been adopted or absolved from the city of Fitchburg from the dissolving of the town of Madison. We took in a share of funds for park development fees within that transfer, which are compensating for this, as well as some capital improvement funds. The overall budget for this project was $400,000. Of which $115,000 was spent last year on the installation of the playground. That leaves $285,000 for total budget. You'll notice one concept is over $285,000 at $293,000. We do have the potential for additional funds to be used on this project if we pursue a budget amendment. So let's say you pursue option B that is a little bit more expensive. We have the capacity to absolve that based on some of those received funds from the town of Madison. It would necessitate a budget amendment, but it can be done. So I spoke with finance about that, if that is an issue or not, if we were to go with the more expensive version. The next thing I do want to reiterate is these are OPCs, which are opinions of probable cost. When this does go out to bid, they may very well be under that. This is just our best assumption at this point as we're in the concept designs. Does it answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
A couple comments I have just to kind of spur conversation here is, the biggest trade-off between these two, and knowing that we can kind of go through the buffet line here and pick and choose different features if we want to. Trade-off kind of being, two-user restroom versus larger splash pad. And I'm not, familiar enough with the use of this park to know which of those is more important, more valuable. Maybe some other folks do. So I think that would be some great info if anybody has an opinion on that. And then the second thing is, as far as the shelter, I do like the thought that in option one, concept one, it's shown adjacent to both the city sidewalk and then the sidewalk within the park. So it kind of creates a connection between those things, which is convenient for people, loading, unloading, bringing their coolers and stuff there. And it kind of creates a nice little bit of a transition space. But then, the other option with the slightly larger shelter being rectangular, it kind of makes a space that's more comfortable for two groups of users. If you think of like two picnic tables in there, you can kind of subdivide the space half and half a little bit and make it feel like two different groups aren't on top of each other. So there are some advantages to that more rectangular shelter as well. Not advocating for one option over the other. Those are just some thoughts I have.
I did find water usage. So for the larger one, they estimate 57 gallons per minute, which is very low in terms of splash pads.
Okay. Everyone's kind of quiet here absorbing it. Does anybody have a preference and would like to voice that? Otherwise, we can, I guess, hand up with Sue. Go ahead.
Excuse me. I think the larger splash pad serves the neighborhood well. There are a lot of kids. Some of the apartments are right close in and surrounding. Some are a little farther away. So I just think seeing the amount of kids and the ages and the hot summers, a lot of those buildings I don't see window air conditioners coming out of the units, so they might really enjoy more room at the splash pad at certain times of the summer.
Mm-hmm. Go
ahead. I prefer option 2. I'm also, if I'm looking at it, it seems like the shelter is a little bit bigger, and just thinking about, community events, cookouts, if folks decided that they wanted to have something, having a bigger shelter would be ideal. I'm wondering with the 2 bathrooms versus the 1, and I have no sense of this, if 1 will be enough, or if 2 is necessary. I don't know like what the traffic is, and I don't even know if there's a way to gauge that, but that's just a curiosity.
My input on that is the reason why we went with the smaller restroom in concept 2 was because we had the larger shelter and the larger splash pad. It was a cost thing. Yeah. If we were to have all of the large features on one, we may not be able to resolve that additional cost, so that's why we went with the smaller restroom. I will say this site or this park does not currently have a restroom, so anything that we were to install is that much more service than was previously there. Again, that is kind of a hard question to gauge, though, what is really your need out there or not. But one thing we can say confidently is that even with a single stall restroom, it's significantly more services than are currently there. I would err on the side of caution of approving all of the large features, so being the large restroom, the large splash pad, and the large shelter. Like I said, we did design it with that smaller restroom in concept 2 because of the associated cost.
If I had to choose between a second bathroom and a splash pad twice as big, I'm with Sue. I think the bigger splash pad makes more sense.
I would agree with concept 2. I think all the design features, from what I know, meet the neighborhood needs.
It's certainly more fun, there's a lot more joy provided with a bigger splash pad than a bigger bathroom. One question I have about it that I just thought of is the outline denoting the soccer field area. Does that have, is that like, I don't remember the regulation size for a soccer field. Does that include the dimensions showed there, any kind of like runoff space, or are we creating any kind of hazard with the splash pad, the largest splash pad being right up against that border?
I can't quite recall what the actual dimensions were, but what you see here in that red dotted line area is not regulation size. That's just the total usable space that we have at Southdale currently. Right now, it's too small for like varsity size, but it's currently too big for younger age group size, like if you were to go to the 7 to 9 age group or what that associated one is. So right now, the entire usable space for soccer is 55 by 44. That is much larger than a younger age group, but then we don't have a large enough size for varsity. The only reason that's on there, so 55 by 44 is not really a regulation size or anything. It's just, here's our usable green space that we have for soccer on site. I just wanted that to be reflected to make sure that the concepts you're looking at aren't infiltrating into a usable soccer area by too far. So I just wanted it to be an example that you guys saw.
That's great. Thank you.
I would add, this is anecdotal, but talking to a longtime maintenance caregiver of those several apartment buildings to the west of the site, that park does get a lot of like open green soccer play currently. And you can tell by the wear patterns. If you look, the aerial on there is a little worn, but you can see that that does get substantial use. So the larger splash pad does kind of creep north a little bit, but kind of outside of that area. But some folks were asking about use, and I have witnessed some of that. So,
Thank you. Sue, you have your hand up?
Yeah, thank you. The way the soccer goals are set up now, or the times I've been there, and I appreciate Eric has said he's showing usable space. So that doesn't necessarily mean the soccer field is going to run straight within that box. It's actually at an angle, and it seems like over time they've shifted it back and forth a little bit. So when it gets too muddy, they'll move it. And the kids are happy just to have the goals. So even though that square comes close to the splash pad on the new rendering, I think the way they actually have been putting it into use is on an angle, and it may not come as close as that box comes. I mean, unless the city decides they want to lock in a location, it wouldn't necessarily have to come that close to the splash pad, as I can recall.
I would agree with Sue.
Thanks.
I mean, the next thing too is even this usable area. Currently, the nets are north-south in this rendering, or at least you can kind of see them. There would be enough, at least from my recollection, if you were to go to a younger age group field, you could potentially go east-west as well and still have that usable space.
All right. Well, there seems like there's nearly consensus on a preferred option. Would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll move to approve option 2 for exploration.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. Thank you, everybody.
Scott, I'm done sharing for now.
Item 5B, resolution R.
thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Rob. Let's see, item 5B, R8326, which is a senior center wellness room. Eric, would you like to give us a summary of that issue?
Yes, I can. So Jill McOwen is here as well. She's our Recreation and Community Services Director. A bit of background on this one is Parks Commission is codified by ordinance, let's see here, Division 7, Section 6-296, Section 5. And what's codified in there is Parks Commission reviews fee schedules, well, I'll read it here, to adopt, subject to Common Council direction, policies and procedures for rental and operation of the city park system and community center, and to review and report to the Common Council on ordinances or proposals involving use of city parks and the community center. So this would include fee schedules. The departments were split last year. Recreation has moved under Jill's jurisdiction at this point. So we feel as if this ordinance, or at least this resolution, is coming to you guys by default within this ordinance. We would move to remove the community center oversight for fee schedule development from Parks Commission and instead favor it to that of Jill's appropriate border commission at that point. So I think this was more of a thing that we caught since the fee schedule was coming through. By the way, we have to review it by Parks Commission. So that's how we're approaching it at this point. Jill is here for any questions or input that you guys may have, but this one would need to be voted on by default as the ordinance stands today.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
New guy question. Is this schedule that's in the packet much different from previous fee schedules, or is it pretty much just kind of carrying it over.
So that, the fee that we put in there, that room actually has never been in a fee schedule.
Okay.
Just because the way that we use that room at the senior center was just independent contractors that do wellness services, but just trying to look at standardizing the way that we do implement fees. And so it's basically a new tier, but it won't really be established in that fee schedule because it won't be rentable. We really just use this fee schedule as a guide.
Okay.
Any other questions? Or a motion?
Move to approve.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jill.
Item 5C, and this is more of a discussion than an action item, rescheduling date and time of the July Parks Commission meeting. The first Thursday of July is the second or third, I think, with the fourth being a Saturday. So there was some concern about whether folks would be traveling for the holiday and be difficult to make that meeting. If that's the case, we were looking at the following week as an alternate.
Just as input as well, we do have the council chambers reserved for the 9th in the event that you do choose to reschedule to July 9th.
So I don't have a strong feeling either way. I guess I would slightly lean towards the rescheduled date, but it's not a specific conflict for me. So I'd be looking for anybody that had a strong opinion to make it heard. That's good for you.
No preference.
Sue?
I'm for reschedule. If everybody else can be there on the currently scheduled date and I'm not there, it's not, life goes on. Votes are still taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue.
We would have to make a motion on this one.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Motion to switch the date to July 9th.
Second.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
I think that was unanimous, but any opposed? Motion carries. All right, the 9th it is. That was easy. Thank you, everybody. Communication items. Do we have any? I don't think we have any communication items, do we? No. Staff reports and updates. First off, we have a citizen registration form. Patrick Cheney for 7A, just wishing to ask some questions and offer a comment.
I have one question and one comment for the supervisor's report. Only my one question needs a response. My question is on equipment. This mentions a new chipper. How many chippers in total does the city have now? How many 16-foot mowers does the city have? My comment. This mentions a chainsaw safety training class. Based on what I saw, and in my opinion, this chainsaw class was poorly managed, poorly conducted, and pointless. But it did serve as another convenient excuse to cut down many more trees in the McGraw Park woods. Some of these trees were obviously dead. Some others did not appear to be dead, and they were not undesirable types. They are dead now. The many trees cut down 2 weeks ago in that class are still left behind, laying there through today. 2 of these trees were dropped right across the popular hiking trail, blocking it, and were left there until later in the next week when I called to complain about this trail blockage. Then these 2 were cleared. Now, after my turn to speak is over, if there may be any discounting or discrediting of my points on this subject, it will only serve to demonstrate an insufficient awareness of the whole story on this subject. In the Parks Manager's report, I have a question. 2/3 of the way through, the line is, met with administration to discuss potential revisions to ordinances for community vendor fee structures. Vendor is a word, but not relevant to the context of this topic. Should this word be renter as related to rental fee structure? That's 2 questions.
That is community center. That was the topic we discussed just previously.
questions on the staff reports?
There's a couple things I would like to highlight if there aren't any questions at this time. Did I answer your first question, Patrick? The spelling. The other one is the equipment replacement was existing equipment that's being replaced. What that total number of chipper is, I can't verify, but the Parks and Forestry Department has one chipper, of which that chipper was replaced with a new one.
All right. Other highlights for you, Eric?
Yes, I just want to highlight some involvement on Arbor Day and Earth Day involvement that staff had. Thank you to Anna Healy for organizing 2 separate planting circumstances or planting involvements, of which had a lot of volunteer support to it. That included Western Hills Park and Chicory Meadows, and then also Joran and the rest of the park staff support for supporting a few private organizations for businesses that reached out and seeing what they could do to clean up some parks for Earth Day, of which staff assisted in supporting that effort. So I want to say thank you to staff, thank you to the volunteers who associated with it, and thanks for the coordination and collaboration from all people involved. I think it's important to recognize and continuously recognize those holidays, and I want to say that the people who did reach out to me, being those businesses, did so unprompted. They were initiated to reach out and see what they could do and request support from the Parks Department. So I think it shows initiative in our community, and it's a good thing for their business as well, community growth. And I think it's a great thing for people to support our parks via volunteer efforts. And I would like to continue doing that. I will say park staff this month is exceptionally difficult because it's at the time of year to where we are doing all of our normal daily associated maintenance, being all of our custodial duties as the shelters are open. We are now mowing grass, which takes a significant amount of time. And what we are lacking is our seasonal staff. Our seasonal staff makes up for a significant portion of our workforce. The majority of them are being students. So we really don't receive the majority of that workforce supplement until the end of May, early June. So as end of April and May comes, it is a difficult month to keep on for daily operational maintenance for staff. They're doing really well keeping up. I know they're looking forward to receiving that supplementary staff as a seasonal start, but it's one thing that I would request is be patient. They're trying their best. We're getting there, and they will get some reprieve, hopefully, when our seasonal staff starts. But they've been working at it. This year was a very drastic shift from our off-season winter work to very, very quickly outside getting everything up and running because we had a lot of changes in the weather. So thank you to all the staff involved. And again, I wanted to highlight those volunteer opportunities.
One quick question for you on the staff report. Did you have a chance to kind of continue the dialogue with the community garden plot rental folks and rules updates?
Yes, so terms and conditions were updated. So I met with a few alders as well as Dave Herbst, who's one of the garden managers out there. Terms and conditions were changed. I feel like we did reflect that within the terms and conditions because the sections that had some opposition to it, being the installation of infrastructure and garden amenities, are allowed and was removed from the existing terms and conditions, as well as the allowing of perennial plantings. Those are 2 major issues that I did receive a lot of feedback on, and I think you guys did as well as some of our council members. So those were removed within the terms and conditions and since revised.
Thank you. Any other questions? Sue?
Thank you for that info, and it made me think of a question. Can you say which businesses did offer to clean at parks?
I don't know if I can really, since it would be a private business. I'm not quite sure if I could or not. I know.
All right.
Yeah, I suppose I'll leave it at that. I will say there are businesses that are close to City Hall, that are close to some of our parks as well.
All right. Don't see any other questions for 7A. Moving on to 7B, which is the CIP and inventory overview update. I see that you added a spreadsheet in here.
Yeah, Scott, could I have the screen? So this is a combination of 2 things, one being the parks inventory, and I kind of integrated that into the same discussion with CIP involvement as well. I see them being one and of the same, and I'll kind of go into how they relate with each other. And this does stem initially from Sam DiMaggio's request, and some of yours as well, for having an up-to-date park inventory. This is something that was started prior to me coming here, but I believe we've made a lot of traction and headway on it, thanks to a lot of staff involved, as well as our GIS coordinator, Dakota. what we have is made a significant amount of updates to our publicly facing GIS filter. So this is accessible by any member of the public to go onto our website and view, which I thought was very important. So not is this just a staff aid for our inventory, it's also an inventory for the public as well to better learn our park system. This was firsthand usability account as Todd is introduced to the Parks Commission here. This tool was something that I could forward to him. Here's how you can familiarize yourself with our parks and our amenities, and is an easy way to do so. And I'll kind of show you how it works and what's all listed in these park inventory. And I do recommend or request that you guys take a look at it, just kind of browse through it. I think there's a lot of information here, and you may learn something, maybe you didn't know this park had this feature or something, but it's I think a definitely very usable tool, and this will continuously be an updated tool as well. So our parks inventory is never truly done, it's just evolving. So this is kind of our first iteration or completion, I guess you could say, of that. So in this map, everything is geospatially located. We have things like our mountain bike trails out at Quarry Ridge that are all listed here at varying different levels of intensity or involvement. And then we have something, if we were to go to McKee Farms, when I click on McKee Farms, what it shows here is a brief description of the park itself, its acreage, its location, and then the list of park amenities. So you can do that for each park within our system here. If I go to Dowley here, it says the same, as well as the park amenities. This one is just a natural conservancy area. What I really like and I think is very usable is if you are looking for a specific feature, let's say you really want to play soccer, or you're looking for areas to play soccer, you can click on that amenity, apply that filter, and that gives all of our parks that have soccer fields in them. And from there, you can browse each individual park where the locations are. So that's a feature that I really like as well if you're looking for a specific feature. Now we do go further into detail here. We have playgrounds, restrooms, community gardens, fitness courses. So if you do want to have a picnic, we even have picnic tables listed. Now on the internal staff side, we're not quite at the point, so this is where I'm saying this is continuously evolving. We have our rough count of what picnic tables and how many are at each park. This will constantly be updated. Now that's not on the public facing side for how many picnic tables are at each park. That's more of a staff side thing for us to manage if we were to replace picnic tables, but it is as well a searchable feature here. So this was kind of our take on what a parks inventory would look like. How this would be on the staff side that I see relates to our CIP. And if you're fine with that, that's kind of what I'll transition into. So we have within the city during our CIP documents, is we have what's called replacement fee schedule or replacement schedules. Parks Department did not have replacement schedules within the CIP plan. Department of Public Works did. And what these allow is you have the expected useful lifespan of something, its anticipated replacement year, the information about it, and then its expected cost eventually on what it would cost, and there's inflation calculators applied to each one. So if it were to cost $10,000 10 years ago, there would be a 3% inflation calculator applied for both. And it's really a tracking tool for us as staff to, I think, better plan for capital improvement plans. And then it also allows us the flexibility. Let's say in 2030 we have the Hatchery Hill Park Playground that we're expecting to replace in 2030. If we assess in 2029, it's not in that bad of condition, and we can actually push it out several years within the CIP, and we will reassess in 2034. We have the ability to do that. But this is what I envision being our next steps for integrating replacement cycles and schedules on parks infrastructure. This first one is the first integration with it into the Parks Department here, kind of mirroring what Public Works does. And I figured playgrounds was the easiest stab to take a look at for this initial year. What I would envision moving forward is shelters being included on this, potential splash pads if we have splash pads, what the cost would be for repair, replacement, and we can plan for it within the capital plan so that we're not caught in a reactive expense mode. So we can hopefully ideally plan for it as far in advance as possible and then reassess at the time when it actually comes up for CIP approval. So this would be our first introduction of that. Again, this will be continuously evolving each year throughout the CIP drafting process, and the next stages would be integration of other parks infrastructure kind of on the same schedule. So that's kind of where we're headed for it. this year specifically for capital improvement plans, the primary one that we're going to be focusing on. So this is what was submitted to the mayor for her review. She will have audit and review capabilities of the capital improvement plan at that point, and council will approve it. But what we're primarily thinking is pursuing further kids crossing development. That project has been in the stage for several years now. It's at the point to where we need to reassess it for what fees are actually approved for kids crossing, if they're sufficient enough to move forward with it or not. That will be a discussion coming up for you guys regarding the design of that. Heavily involved from Parks Commission support and your involvement, but that's our main priority right now, is to focus on kids crossing for 2027.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
Yeah. First of all, I really like the forward thinking that's encapsulated here. What determined the replacement year? I see some are maybe 25 years, some are maybe 30, and a variety of other numbers.
25 to 30 is the expected lifespan of playgrounds. So we have NRPA, which is the National Recreation and Parks Association, and they have oversight on playground safety standards. The general expected lifespan, or rough kind of timeline, is 25 to 30 years. I wouldn't feel comfortable in going beyond that, having 35 years into it. However, some of the ones that are beyond that, we have assessments like it's actually holding up really well. This is our best guess that we think we can extend beyond 30 years. But as a base template, 25 to 30 is what we're accounting for. Yes, Joe.
I assume that the ones that are between, like the replacement years are 2036 and earlier would possibly be in the CIP. I see there's like a handful of those.
Yep, they would be. So they would be on, if we have our 10-year CIP, they would be on a replacement cycle plan like this.
Okay. Heidi had her hands up.
Excuse me, I just had a comment. I just wanted to say this is really good work, and I'm really impressed with how organized and how user-friendly this appears to be.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Heidi. This was also really helpful for me in doing all of this and reassessing park inventory stuff, because I was learning this. Dakota was extraordinarily helpful. He's our GIS coordinator. He did all of the mastermind work behind this, and then staff support as well. So like I said, this is its introductory stage. I can see this being further developed, and how it's utilized by staff, I think, will also be continuously be evolving. So I think there's a lot of applications that we can use it for, especially as it relates to the CIP.
There's a comment, I think, in my tenure on parks, that the tension point tends to be around how we spend our dollars and being reactive. So having this inventory and a lifespan helps us to not make those reactive choices. And also, I think, pit conversations around equity and inclusion inadvertently around the cost of equipment. And I think those are unfair things to balance between each other. So having this and a document that shows here's the plan, here's where we're at, we're keeping track, that gives us the ability to then weigh things more deeply. How are we then using what we know for the budget on an equitably across the system and addressing issues of inaccessibility, et cetera. So I really appreciate this for that reason. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And like I said, this is just playgrounds. That's our first year implementation of this as a replacement cycle. Hopefully we can move forward with other park infrastructure going down that same road, ideally planning and as far in advance as possible. And again, I like that flexibility. So when it does come time for final CIP adoption, let's say something isn't there, we still have the ability to reassess that, which I like that flexibility. So I think this Public Works really had it tried and true. They knew this, they have been doing replacement cycles for years, several years within the capital improvement plans. Parks hasn't, it just wasn't how it was done for CIP drafting. That's how I would plan to take it in the future. Thanks for understanding that playgrounds is just our first introduction of this. In the following years, ideally we'll have more.
Great.
Thank you.
Yeah, what a great start. And then the public-facing GIS website, that's a wealth of information.
I can show you how to get to it, actually. So if I were to, again, we have like the staff-facing side of it, but ultimately this is also very important for just the general public to go. So if I were to just type in City of Fitchburg, go to our homepage website, at the very bottom, is going to be GIS/maps. And I encourage you guys to take a look at this. If you're not, I'm a map nerd. So like if you guys browse some of these things, it's really, really helpful. There is a substantial amount of filters on here that a lot of city staff time and efforts have went into to catalog and put together like this. So parks and open space amenities is just one of the very few filters that are available for you guys to look at. So we have our projects map, road closures. We have our tree map, which Anna has put a substantial amount of work in for our tree inventory is here. So that's, another very, very helpful GIS filter that's in here. So parks and open space amenities is just one of those few GIS filters that are here. So that's how you would navigate it.
I feel like specifically the amenities one would be a great thing to publicize at some point, be it in the city newsletter or whatever, because it could be really useful for somebody that, they have a birthday party with a bunch of kids that want to play soccer, but they know that the park they always go to is busy. So where else can they go that has a soccer field? So it's not only is it really intriguing and interesting for us map nerds, I count myself in that group as well, but it's can be really useful.
One thing that we don't have on here that was a little bit hard to catalog, I'm not sure if we go down that road or not, but I think potentially highlighting handicap accessible amenities would be a worthwhile inclusion as well. That'll be obviously more work we'll go through and see what are actually handicap accessible or not and kind of do an internal audit, I guess, for that point. But highlighting where handicap accessible picnic tables are, or playgrounds that have handicap accessible features onto it, or paths to navigate to the playground. That's one of our priorities now, is if we were to replace a playground, ideally we have a pathway to it that's handicap accessible. So maybe highlighting some of those features is maybe one of the next areas that I'd like to focus on. Just a thought on how to take it, I suppose, to the next stage of development.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing all that with us. All right, are there any other questions on the CIP or the inventory? If not, all right, then we can move on to item 8, which is future agenda items. Acceptance of bird for Swan Creek and Wildwood Athletic Court renovations.
So this was in the budget for these renovations. I believe it was actually, I'd have to remember again, but it was 2025 budget from what I recall. So what we are at this point is taking these projects out to bid. They are renovations, restoration, so nothing is changing. It's just the rebuilding of those courts. Through this process, we do have to go through bid acceptance. So where we're at right now is they are designed. We are soliciting public bids for them. Those bids will be reviewed by staff. When there is one that comes within budget and is a preferred vendor, this is the formal process for accepting and adopting a bid. I can say that within our project manual, we are expecting that work to begin, if a bid is accepted, expecting to work begin around July 1, and the substantial completion is October 15th, is what's currently written right now. We've had some interested parties. We haven't received any final bids yet. The bid closure date is May 13th, and then this would be final bid approval as we discussed at our next meeting. So hopefully we get some good bids back and can get them back to you guys and get moving on that project.
Exciting. All right. And then item 9, announcements. Our next meeting is June 4th. Do we have any other announcements?
Yeah.
Mike.
So I'm on Healthy Neighborhoods Initiative committee, and one of our members is actually organizing an event in Hugo Jamestown. Scott, if I could share my screen real quick, I just wanted to advertise it so that folks knew about it. So it'll be the day after school gets out. It's called Popsicles in the Park, and it'll be from 4:30 to 6 p.m.
That's the last day of school in Verona.
Last day of school in Verona. Okay. So last day of school, get some popsicles. I just wanted to make sure our commission knew about it and the public knew about it.
Thank you for sharing.
Is that the correct spelling of Hegel? Is it H-U-E?
It may be.
I think it might be
misspelled.
H-U-E.
I did not check for that, but I will let the flyer designer know that. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
Is it too late for a question?
I don't think so.
So a question about the timing of Hickory tennis courts.
Chicory?
Thank you.
Chicory, substantial completion is June 15th. So that's when the contractor is required to have it resurfaced and done, including fence installations. What they're waiting for at this point is the resurfacing material that they put down. They do need to wait for temperatures consistently above 50 degrees. So we are waiting on those weather conditions. We had a week that was really, really great for it a little time ago, and now we're dipping down below into the 30s. From my understanding, with the last time I spoke with their engineers, they're looking to kind of a 2-week time frame is what they're looking at. So they're expecting to be out there within the next 2 weeks. Again, there could be weather things that come up. If there's precipitation in the radar, they do wait for that and compensate for it. But they are required to be done by June 15th as per the bid guidelines, or at least their bid contract agreement. So I would have full expectation that would be done in May. I do not think that they will extend it to June, but it is a possibility if weather doesn't cooperate. But they're looking at with the next 2 weeks or so.
Great, thank you.
All right, and then I think we can take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
And second. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, we're adjourned at 6:55. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.